Hi, welcome to Google Limited Hangouts. Anyway, this is going to be off the cuff. I don't have any text file to read here. But this is going to be useful because I'm going to try to go back to doing a few videos of technical value. But let's cover some recent developments or just some negatives or maybe some zooms. Filming jokes, huh? So here we go. I've been sick for the last week or more. I really don't want to figure out how long it's been. Upper respiratory infection, sinus cavities. Search. So anyway, so I haven't been able to get a lot done. So I've been doing them in bursts when I'm not sick for a few hours. And then I regret it. Last night was the first night in the entire period of time since I started being sick that I was able to go through the entire night not coughing, woke up, didn't have to cough immediately, and nothing horrifying or funny colored came out of my face. So it was a beautiful day. Then I sneezed. But anyway, I'd like to point out a couple of things here. I'm going to be doing videos on how to detect when you have viruses, how to detect when you've been hacked into, how to avoid these things, that sort of thing. I'm going to cover them in general, part of this in the video, because a certain someone had a problem. Several people have had problems, so I should actually do those sorts of things. Mostly because I use these rules in my head when I'm using my computer. I just got done doing a really angry rant about Google deliberately making it to where YouTube makes it look like you're being broken into. It didn't occur to me that that should be useful for people to look up to and including causing crashes randomly of web browsers resulting in corrupted files and bad overwrites, which I detected in a couple of pictures that no longer render because the crashing of the web browser overwrote a part of the hard drive that has nothing to do with it. The only reason I've escaped a lot of the damage is because I don't install software on my computer. I use portable programs. So let's cover that. Programs that are installed on your computer that are made aware of what operating system, what version of everything is on your computer, can also share programs and utilities and middleware on your computer. That means if you've installed some video game, something unrelated, and happen to install the libraries for the video game to do 3D rendering and accelerated graphics and improve on your operating system, because your computer, you know, the Windows or Macintosh installer or Linux install has software that it comes with just by its nature to make sure that you can use some of the hardware in your computer and it'll make things work a little better. But if you install the specific software to run the computer you're using, those are called drivers. This may include a piece of software to make your sound card work much more smoothly, the video card much more smoothly working, and may even improve the keyboard and mouse. But a video game may contain optimized software for being gaming mode. It'll probably be the same programs, but they're told to do certain defaults that are better. Now let's say you install a web browser. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Well, yes, it does. In every video game or any image editor or any video editing or whatever program you can have, these libraries and driver improvements allow it to work in 1D, yes, there is single dimension, 2-dimensional mathematics for graphics and for audio, because that's multidimensional, and 3D math. These math routines may be optimized for very specific behaviors and work. Now let's say you install a web browser. Well, if you didn't notice it when you're using Google Street View, it's very, very similar to a choose your own adventure, click and play, click through video game. It's almost identical. It uses a spherical rendering, no sprites, and when you click in certain directions, it uses path methods. I don't know what else it's called. I forgot what it's called in other systems. The 3D rendering function is used when you use that obnoxious, disgusting, worthless 3D view that the 2D map gives you in Google Maps, which I'm not going to vomit, I swear I won't, but it is actually a 3D rendering. Having the computer game engine installs adds in the DLLs to be able to do that. So when you run the web browser, you can use those. If you use a portable version like mine, it can be sensitive to it as long as it's in the pathway on your computer leading into Windows to tell it where those drivers and optimized middleware programs are for doing 3D math or whatever. The drivers handle the hardware in your computer. These other middleware routines handle activities that are outside the scope of a driver and go between the driver and the application. So anything that's video game like would be used by anything that could. Sadly, using JavaScript and HTML5, you still need these drivers. Glide functions and WebGL and that sort of thing are basically web versions of video game engine activities. But they can be used. Now, if you use a portable piece of software versus an installed version, it has to spend a couple of seconds on startup looking to make sure all those are available by asking Windows, what are your pathways to everything? And then checking on them. And it can miss things. If you install these programs, your operating system's aware they exist and can update them if it knows about them for your web browser so that it knows where those paths are. If you add something new, the web browser will be informed of it and may reconfigure itself to work better. But other than that, a portable version of the software has a habit of isolating infections, viruses, and crashes just to it. Normally not overwriting and damaging some file in a totally unrelated directory. Now let's get on with the next one. They're not really unrelated. Photos that I save to a specific area, like let's say my photos, which I don't use, but on a Windows machine, it's a shared area. Every program knows where that is, so every single program can break your photos, your videos, whatever, or just destroy the profile. I use almost exclusively portable programs that never assume that they should know where anything is, and I never leave anything anywhere near where they would look. I don't even have programs in the programs directory. In fact, I literally have 3 programs in my program files directory or in programs. I have 500 programs in a directory structure called My Stuff. My backups are in a directory called Back the F Up, and another directory is called Don't You Dare Touch This. That's literally the name of the directory. Those are not standard names. None of the programs know about any of this, unless I tell them to. The only image that got damaged, the reason I know about this, is an image in a directory that I was using with my web browser while surfing somewhere. It broke it. The website crashed my browser, and that's the only thing that could have affected that image. It was in a directory I just created recently, just to handle a little project that I was doing in the web browser. It was an image that was already downloaded, but it was visible, which means the web browser had locked it and was manipulating it. Or could. But because I'm using portable browser, normally it doesn't break those things. And it was the last image I loaded before the other website tried to crash my computer. And we're not going to discuss which web browser page that I was looking at, YouTube. We're not going to indicate which company is guilty of causing this crash, Google. We're just going to talk about the subliminal messages I've given you later on. The point I'm making is the most likely culprit, fucking Google, only managed to damage one file because I didn't let it have access to every other file I've got, because I never do. So the first step in not getting infected is never telling a program or a browser or the internet the truth about anything on your computer. Yes, I have a default directory for my files and my programs and images, and I even have one called My Tax Forms, and it contains completely bogus data. If somebody breaks into my computer, they'll find either jack or shit. Same thing with the viruses. Everything I care about is done through portable programs because I don't let them know enough about my own computer to know about it. When someone checks my computer to see what's installed, or if any program does, it says you have 3 programs on your entire computer. And they're all middleware routines or plugins, mostly, drivers, and then the 3 programs, the legitimate ones, that are programs that I couldn't get that was portable. Which means not one of these programs is able to interfere with each other, even if they're in the same general area on the computer. Just saying. I have a very unconventional way of using my computer because I get fed up with reinstalling the damn operating system years ago. I get paid to do that shit. So I'm not going to do it. I measure my downtime in hours and my uptime in, I'm not kidding, the last computer I had before this had no downtime for 8 years. Nothing wrong. It finally died because I put my fist through the screen. Okay, I have an attitude problem. I haven't punched this computer, no matter how screwed up it has been. At least not enough to damage it. I literally ran my hand through a screen. But anyway, to wit, I'm going to do a set of videos on how to do this. Now, the problem with this is that if you make a portable program, it can't be programmed by the operating system to know what its RAM limits are, or RAM maximums or minimums. So it has to figure it out its own. Add to that the fact that I'm using a bunch of programs that are RAM hogs sometimes. Okay. But Firefox Portable actually uses less RAM than Firefox installed. That shouldn't happen. So no, that's not what caused it. I thought I'd check it. It was a mistake installing the latest version of Firefox. Oh my God, don't do that. Don't install programs. Run them. And if they annoy you, erase them. Start over. I have, at last count, 8 different versions of Firefox thrown into a directory. All of them acting as backups for each other. I think it makes them less attitudinal. So, that's the first step. What about virus scanners and firewalls? I don't run them. I disable every single thing on my computer that could ever get broken into. There's a program or website called Leak Test. All it does is check to see if your computer has any openings that someone could tunnel into. It checks all the ports. 64,000 main ports on your computer. Some of them are open by default. You can disable that. I did. There are 5 on my computer that are open because I can't close them, because they're used for communicating with the internet. They're supposed to accept some input. Has to exist. But I could lock it down totally. So I redirect everything that would come in through them to a honeypot that breaks people's computers if they get in there, because I'm a little stinker. The next thing is that I found out it doesn't work anymore, so there's no point in having it, so I've erased it. I don't know of any other antagonistic piece of software to run. What else? Oh, I tell the computer not to run anything on startup. Microsoft Config, MS Config, works well for that. Crap Cleaner has a startup checker. You can look for everything that starts up that it can detect, so you don't have to muck around in the registry. You look up what the names of things are. If you're lucky, someone else found out what the thing is, and you can turn it off. I currently allow a couple of things to run on startup because they don't consume a lot of memory, they don't crash, and they give me a real value. On the left side here, and it's not warm right now, is a USB 3 port set that I complained about, that I actually got working eventually by beating it to death. No, by literally loading up one driver after another until it worked. I haven't used it for anything except copying things, but I needed to copy things fast. It only does 1 thumb drive at a time, but oh God, it's faster. And a couple of other things, including a utility that forces the damn thing to load nothing else, to stop anything from automatically installing itself, to not change my settings by respecting them. Getting the operating system to respect my wishes, turning off every update, not installing a virus scanner or a malware scanner. 8 years of uptime. And the reason it took a day or so was because I simply changed the machine out because, it was dying anyway. That and the fact that I put my fist through it. Yes, that's the real reason I couldn't go more than 8 years. Okay, fine, I killed it. It deserved it. But anyway, you too can have 8 years of uptime. Just get really, really lucky with the computer and lock your computer down. It's not that difficult, right? Yes, it is. Because you have to learn how to do it. It's not a simple product to load on your computer that solves it. It's not a RAM cleaner or a hard drive cleaner. It's not a simple utility with a single click button that says, here, let me fix it. Those are always fake. So I'm going to have to do tutorials. That and the fact that I want to rebuild the system in its own evil image on another machine identical to it, because I got one. You will benefit. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.